Coming up, clumsy cub's close encounter with a tree.
I'm pretty sure it was due to these blustery conditions that a lot of the penguins we found still in their burrows. But as the day started wearing on, a couple of the adult penguins started creeping out of the undergrowth and out of their burrows and started drifting down to the water's edge. And just glancing across the bay itself, you can see a lot of spindrift. The winds were so strong this morning that it was actually blowing the water off the sea. And it was these blustery and windy conditions that kept the penguins closer to home today. A lot of them were jumping into the water, but only close by. They weren't heading out to the sort of open ocean. As we watched them, it was quite apparent that they weren't going to go out to sea, but they definitely wanted to get their feathers wet and start today's preening on the shore and as well as in the water. And just glancing across the boulders or the rocky outcrops, the call to keep their species going was definitely a lot stronger than the call for going out for food today. Unfortunately, the conditions were really, really terrible, but once again, a really nice morning spent with these amazing little flightless birds.
Initially the sky was clear, but within a matter of minutes, this looming fog bank cut my picture into thirds. And while it did make for quite a dramatic moment, the fog soon won over and it became quite grey as we moved into the morning. What this meant was that the wind was beginning to blow, and the gannets really relished this. There was much flapping and leaping around on the floor of Malchus. The behavior amongst the birds reflected their mood, and there was all this ridiculous sky pointing, which became infectious. And before long, the sound was almost unbearable to the ear. By 8 o'clock, the fog had moved in with some volume, and the wind had picked up to about 10-15 knots. Looking back over the island itself, you just had to seek out the high points, and the early risers were already taking off to go feeding. As more and more took off, there seemed to be a state of urgency, and the other birds felt the pressure. Every now and again, there was an abortive takeoff. Eventually, quite a few birds taking to the air. Before long, the whole sky was full of gannets. Circling the nesting colony seemed to be the way to go, and then they would head off in different directions out to sea to hunt for pilchard or, more recently, hake. There was always a gallery of juveniles, desperately flapping, wannabe flyers, and clumsily gawking at each other to see how the competition was doing. I must say they look pretty adept, and I think it'll be a matter of a day or two before we see these birds in the air. There's always the slackers, and one or two of the juveniles just overslept.
So there's been some chatter around the office as to the real reason why lions climb trees. Now, certainly not well known for climbing trees. Some potential theories are perhaps that they climb trees to steal the prey away from a leopard who climbs trees for this particular reason, to evade these other predators. Perhaps another reason would be that they climb trees to avoid large herbivores, such as a large herd of buffalo coming through the area, especially if they've got young animals or cubs within the pride. Then this will provide a safe refuge for them. Some other reasons could be perhaps that they climb the trees to avoid the biting insects or flies which lie in the grass, or perhaps on those hot savanna days just to try and find what little breeze there may be. In my own personal experience, I've only ever once come across a lioness up a tree, and in this particular case she had actually killed a small warthog, and there were a few hyenas in the vicinity, so it was quite obvious that she was trying to eat her meal in peace. Or perhaps it's just all about having fun and strengthening those bonds between the pride.
Catch the next episode as our crew travel to Transylvania.